Recorded from the Oklahoma State University Stillwater campus, this is the Inside OSU Podcast. Here are your hosts, Meghan Robinson and first Cowboy, Darren Shrum.
Hello and welcome to the first Inside OSU Podcast of 2024. I am Meghan Robinson, joined once again by my co-host, first Cowboy, Darren Shrum. And our guest today, you probably know his voice, might not know his face, but it is Dave Hunziker, voice of the Cowboys on Cowboys Sports Network. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. It's an honor. The first of the year. Wow. That's an honor. I don't know how the people feel about that, but it's an honor for me for sure.
Well, you've earned it because you just recently had your 1,000th broadcast with Cowboy Radio Network.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's a lot of games and a lot of fun, though. We've had a Final Four run. We've had a Big 12 championship, 2 Fiesta Bowl wins, Stanford, Notre Dame. It's been an amazing run, and it's been a lot of fun to just be a part of the OSU family and sort of have a chance to bring those moments to life in a different context than being there in person. Because all the people listening, they'd like to be there, but for whatever reason they can't, either because of job or health or just don't have the money or means to come. So to be able to express that to people is pretty fulfilling because hopefully you're that connection point between where they'd like to be and unfortunately where they are. So it always feels good.
There's always a great connection because I know very seldom do I miss a game, but if I ever do, I try to find you on the radio so that way I can hear you because you're always exciting, whether we're up or whether we're being beaten or we're winning, right? So you're always good, you're always fun, and it's always interesting.
Well, and that's the thing is that you win some, you lose some, and there'll be some crazy ones. Like I remember at Iowa State, that's been probably 13 years ago. We're up like 5 in basketball at Hilton. We've got them dead in the water with like a minute and a half to go. A kid named Scott Christopherson banks in a 3 at the buzzer to beat us. I think we may have lost by 2. And you just go down, you congratulate the Iowa State guys and say, sometimes it's just not your turn. You have good seasons, you have bad seasons, and sometimes it's just not your turn. You just move on. Of course, then we went up there 2 years later, and Naz Long hit a 3 from about half court to take it to overtime. And I think I told those guys, I'm sick of it being your turn now. That's 2 of those in 3 years. So you've had your turn. It's just, you'll win some, you'll lose some, you'll have the greatest, most ecstatic wins possible, and then there'll be times where it really punches you in the gut. That's because everybody's invested. That's what you want. I've been at schools where nobody even knew you were playing on game day.
Right.
It's nice to be someplace where people care.
So have you ever forgotten a game?
How so? In terms of a game,
every time I talk to you, you start referencing, right? And so I have a hard time remembering what I did 2 hours ago, right? And so you can remember like every play of every game.
I don't know about that. I can't remember to take the trash out. I mean, ask my wife. She's like, I wish you'd forget some of that stuff and remember things that matter. I'm pretty good with birthdays generally. Facebook helps as far as friends go. I remember my kids' birthdays and my wife. Oh, it's just...
You got to remember that anniversary as well. So.
Well, yes. No, I wouldn't forget that. But
when is it, Dave?
It is August 21st. We just did 30
what
years.
What year? Well,
1993.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 93 degrees in Columbia, Missouri.
Okay.
When that magic happened. So, yeah, you get invested in it. You love it. I've always been that way. It's funny when you're a kid, you can just rattle off every World Series winner, every MVP. I'm not that way anymore. Mm-hmm. You ask me who the Super Bowl winner was 5 years ago. When I was a kid, I could have told you all of them and probably who the MVP of the game was. I'm not so much that way now, but when it comes to OSU stuff, I can pretty much remember. And part of it is places and time. Everything gets connected like it's
right.
Bad weather. Or my brother was with me in Ames when Naz Long made the shot. He knew how to turn his mic into the Q circuit, which means it's not on the air, but we could hear him. I won't say what he said when he made that shot. Really shouldn't be said on this forum, but anyway, you kind of get the picture. So you just remember those little nuggets that tie into the game and then kind of brings everything back.
So 1,000 games, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to ask you your most favorite game, but so what's your top 3?
Oh, gosh. Well, in basketball, you have to go to the Final Four. And what happened that entire run, you had to beat 4 conference champions.
Stage kicks it left wing. Lucas 3-point jumper. Good. 6 seconds. 18-footer. No. Rebound. Cowboys win. Cowboys win. Oh, the Cowboys are going to the Final Four. Oh, the Cowboys are going to the Final Four!
Which is unusual to get to the Final Four. So there were no clowns
What year
in
was
the
this?
group. 2004. And it wasn't anyone that got upset ahead of you, which makes the path easier, right? You had to beat – the seedings played out exactly as they were designed, and it was not an easy path. Got there, won a Big 12 championship in the process. That whole run was great. And probably of those games that year, St. Joseph's, Texas at home, Kansas State on the road is the one that gets lost. Because we don't win that game, we never go on that run. We were down 16 to a Kansas State team that didn't even make the NCAA tournament, and we looked bad in the process. Mm-hmm. And then Tony Allen and John Lucas said, that's enough, boys. Let's go. And won that thing by one and took off from there. Football-wise, any Bedlam win.
Sure.
Do I have favorites? This year, it's the only game where the picture's on my wall in my game room upstairs. I have the picture of the fans storming the field. Within 3 weeks, it was on my wall.
Right.
So that means it's probably a big deal, right? And 2011, 2021, Bedlam, those are great memories. And then there are others. I mean, coming from 17 points down at half to beat A&M, much like the K-State win in basketball in 2004. If you don't win that game, that run never happens. And all that went into that, and the calm of the coaches down 20-3 at half, and Todd Monken and Gundy saying, we're going to screen pat these guys to death in the second half. We're going to go fast, and we will wear them out. And they did.
Worked out.
Talking about your favorite games, when I think of you on the radio, I think of your calls and some of your iconic calls. The one that comes to mind, Darren and I were talking before you got here today, 2021 Bedlam call. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Williams claps his hands, gets the ball. Back to pass, under pressure. Pocket collapses. He is sacked! He is sacked! Back at the 33-yard line. They got him. It was the youngster, the freshman, Colin Oliver, that got him. Where's that Sooner magic now, baby? Where's that Sooner magic now?
Yeah. The thing about that is it's sort of not who I usually am. So I guess I'm just like everybody else. I was a little bit riled up.
Dave, honesty is the best policy.
Well,
you got to let your emotions go.
No,
right?
it is. And full disclosure, and he'll probably see this, and I guess I'm okay with it because I might as well just tell the truth. When Caleb Williams took off and ran down the field, number one, I thought he was going to score. And as he's running, and I have to call the play, but the thoughts running through my mind is like, oh, Lord, please, it can't happen this way. Please, no. And we get him down, and then the next thing that runs through my mind is, if we lose this game, Barry Switzer on camera saying, how about that Sooner magic? And that got my blood boiling. So when Colin Bear crawled and got him on the ground, that's what was running through my mind. So, Coach Switzer, if you see this, I don't know how you feel about that. It's probably the ultimate compliment because you're living rent-free in my mind to some extent. So that's probably the ultimate compliment that you've done that. But full disclosure, I don't think I've said that on the air, but that's what was going through my mind. It's like, I don't want to hear that again. No.
Okay.
So I decided to kind of go out of – I kind of had an out-of-body experience there and let the fur fly a little bit.
Love it. I love it.
So let's back up to that play.
Okay.
So I'm on the sidelines, right?
Yeah.
And I'm standing there and I have my hands in my pocket, and so I'm watching the big screen. Of course, I'm nervous, and I'm watching, and he breaks loose. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not going to end this way. You got to be kidding.
Oh, I know.
So about that time, Christian, number one, right?
Holmes.
Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
I think he was zero.
Christian Holmes. So he pushes him out of bounds. You know who he pushed him into? Me. And so anyway, Casey's looking for me from the stadium, right? And she goes, you were standing up and all of a sudden you were just gone. So I'm watching that and I'm watching the screen. I'm really cussing a lot under my breath, right? And I'm just thinking, you got to be kidding me. And about that time, I look and all I hear is boom, and he hits me in the shoulder and he knocks me down. Right?
Really?
Knocks me down on the sidelines. So I get right back up and he's laying there on the ground, and Coach Gundy comes over and helps Caleb up off the ground. And so Sunday after practice, I listen, I got a problem with you. And he said, what? And I go, okay, President's husband on the ground, Caleb Williams on the ground, and you reached down to pick him up. Was that you? And he goes, I didn't want to get a personal foul, so that's why I helped Caleb up. But anyway, just to talk about that moment. So that moment is a memorable moment for a lot of people. So
you know what's funny about that is that the way that it ended with Colin Oliver bear crawling to get him down was an absolute, totally appropriate way for that to happen, because that's who that team was. They were scrappy. They just found ways to get things done. They were smart, really smart, and just tough guys. And that was the perfect way. It went from the absolute worst way for that game to end to the absolutely most appropriate way for that game to end, because those were all tough guys. I mean, Malcolm Rodriguez, those guys were all tough guys and smart football players. It was fun.
So that call, "Where is that Sooner Magic now?" was off the cuff.
Oh, yeah.
Completely in the moment, you're just feeling it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, that's what you just heard it. That's what was running through my mind. And yeah, I mean,
stored up frustration, right?
Yeah. I mean, remember, even though I went to Missouri, I've been here a lot longer than I ever was there. I've lived in Oklahoma now, gosh, almost as long as I lived in Missouri. Okay. So, this is home now, and I don't really know anybody at Missouri anymore that coaches, so, I don't really pay much attention to them now. But, even as a Missouri fan, Oklahoma's just, let me get you on my college friends text strand about Oklahoma, and you'll get some interesting responses back, including from my dear friend John Anderson, who was one of my classmates from ESPN. You'll hear it. So the situation, if you will, with the Sooners, if you're a Missouri fan, it's obviously not the same as OSU, but they were never the preferred opponent of choice as far as the Tigers were concerned. Right. That goes way back.
For other calls, though, do you have a list of calls that you're like, oh, I want to say this? It's all just ad-libbed in the moment?
No. It just, you know what? You grow up in a small town, just like you do in Oklahoma, whether it's Missouri, Oklahoma, Iowa, Kansas, whatever. And people are really folksy, and so they say things. And they can be, a lot of times it's sort of, to some extent, recreated. Like, Good Night Vienna was what? There was a guy in my hometown of Cahokia, Missouri, and he's passed away. His name was Bubba Cannon. Ironically, his brother was a 1AA head football coach, is in the Missouri State Athletics Hall of Fame. So we're talking about a guy, some people that could play ball. So whenever anything was over, Bubba was very eccentric, and he would say, and it was Good Night Vienna, boys.
3rd and 10 from the Cowboy 18. Thompson gets the ball, throws it up the middle. It's intercepted by Jason Taylor, and Taylor's gone. Good night, Vienna.
And that's what he would say when something was over. To give you an idea of what this guy was like, one year the Steelers and Cowboys played in the Super Bowl. I was drinking a soda up at the gas station. A guy comes in and says, Bubba, Steelers and Cowboys are playing in the Super Bowl. You hate both teams. Who are you going to root for? Bubba looks up and says, injuries, and walks away. So that's the kind of guy we're talking about. Right. These are the kind of characters I'm talking about that say these things. So that came from Bubba. I'd been home to do a speech. Terrence Robinson picked up a fumble at Kansas my second year at OSU, ran it 97 yards for a touchdown. Terrence Robinson, if I remember correctly, had asthma. I was worried whether he'd even make it. And when he got to the 10-yard line, it was like, oh, my gosh, he's going to make it. Good night, Vienna. And now that Bubba's passed away, it's kind of like my little tribute to him.
Sure.
It still applies, but I do think about him when we had a big play. It's like, that one's kind of for you, Bubba, because the characters have very character-like things to say. So there's a few things I've stolen over the years, and then things I just make up because I feel like it.
Do you have a specific broadcaster that is probably your favorite?
Influence-wise, growing up where I did, you were exposed to a lot of super high-level guys because of KMOX Radio in St. Louis and KCMO in Kansas City. So I grew up listening to Kevin Harlan doing Kansas City Chiefs football on the radio, Jack Buck doing the Cardinals, Bob Costas being on the air on KMOX. All these guys, Bill Wilkerson. If you go back, anyone who knows, and most people probably wouldn't, but if you were to go on Twitter and find Bill Wilkerson calling St. Louis football Cardinal games or Missouri football games, you'll know exactly where my football style came from.
Okay.
It was growing up listening to him. John Rooney doing Missouri basketball, who now does the Cardinals. All of those guys were right there as a part of my life for the teams I loved. Fred White, who became a friend when I came here, longtime broadcaster for the Royals. So you had all these major league talents. And some of those guys literally helped me. Kevin Harlan was a huge help to me career-wise. He was doing Missouri basketball when I was there, really helped me in terms of understanding kind of what it took to get started in this business. And then there were others. I wouldn't be here without Tom Hedrick, a longtime sports broadcasting professor at the University of Kansas. Imagine a Jayhawk helping a Tiger, but he did. And he really set my mind straight on how to get a job in this business. And much of what he shared is what I share with my students that I teach today, is how this business really works. And without Tom Hedrick and that wake-up call in 1991, I'd probably be an attorney or something. I don't know. Wouldn't be a very good one. But I wouldn't have stuck with it because I don't think I would have gone anywhere.
I bet you could argue a case really well.
I probably could, but I don't think you could say goodnight Vienna in a federal courtroom. I don't think it would go over very
you could
well.
Once. At least
Never
one
know.
time you could. Right?
I get, yeah. I mean, the one time and the last time. So there's a lot of people that have helped out. But it's really fortunate to be around
Sure.
and be exposed to super high-level talent. And KMOX in St. Louis was the benchmark of how sports was done on the radio. And it was really, really fortunate to be exposed to that, because you just think that's the norm. When you find out in your career later, it's not. So pretty lucky.
You were talking earlier about games and seasons where, you're riding the wave of the good seasons versus the bad seasons. The number one rule of being in the media is no cheering in the press box. However, you're Oklahoma State media. So how do you find that balance of being fair in your broadcast when a team might be having a bad season or a great season?
Facts. Just stick to the facts. That's where the preparation comes into play. That's the reason you do it, is so when you say something, it's based in fact. So if our team is struggling, you just go to the facts. Coach Gundy doesn't get upset. It is what it is. And here's another part of that. When the team is struggling, I firmly believe this, and my wife's in healthcare, and we've never really talked about this, but I know it has to be true in her workplace. You can tell people about anything you need to tell them if you use it with the right tone.
Sure.
And so when things are bad, you can lay the facts out there, and they may not be good, but if you use the right tone, then people can digest them the right way without getting upset. It's like, that's true. You don't have to go on and just rip. It's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. We're averaging 1.7 yards a carry. We can't block. No, that's not how you do it.
That's what you want to say. But
No, I mean,
that's what I want to say.
Well, sure, but you have to be, and you have to trust the process. You can't
Sure.
overreact. And so that's where the prep comes into play. So that I am a firm believer, and I tell the students this, you make sure everything you say is based in fact. And then if people criticize it, you become sort of like Teflon. It just sort of slides off. What are you going to criticize? Now, in today's world, frankly, it's a little bit different, but I won't change. I mean, just stick to the facts. People will form their own opinions. Stick to the facts, let people form their own opinions, and take it from there. And that's the good thing about doing games and not having to do a show every day, which I would not want to do because I'm bad at it anyway. And so you just put the facts out there and do it with the right tone. That's the key. Do it with the right tone.
You're talking about tone and being serious, and to shift to a little bit more of a serious subject, you got this job under unfortunate circumstances, you can say, the way that the position opened up and how you became the voice of the Cowboys. It was after the plane crash. This weekend is the anniversary of that crash. What does Remember the 10 mean to you?
Well, it just triggers the fact that it's almost hard to believe it actually happened. It really is hard to believe it actually happened. And all of those men that were involved left behind families, very young children, brothers, sisters, parents, grandparents who life was never normal after that. Maybe there becomes a new normal, but not really. It just doesn't. It can't. So I always think about, what the last 2 decades have been like for them, trying to figure out, and I don't really know that time heals things. It just makes some things that used to be normal maybe a little bit more normal, but there is no normal. The normal doesn't exist anymore. And, hopefully, as far as what I do, that I'm doing work that Bill would be proud of and happy with. I hope that's the case. Some people think, to some extent we're alike personality-wise. I did not know him, but hopefully we've done work, not just myself, but everybody that's on the air, that would make him happy, and he would say, hey, And I know one thing he would have been thrilled about is what's happened in football. I wish for him that he would have had a chance to be a part of that because he would have loved it and another Final Four run. So I think he would be really excited about what our athletic department's done, what our stadium looks like, what all our facilities look like. But it's I can't imagine how hard it is for them just because, again, it's a part of you is gone and there is no such thing as normal again. I wouldn't think there would be.
Stepping away from broadcasting for a little bit, you are an avid bowler.
Oh, wow. Let's go right to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a big event a couple weeks ago, big milestone in the bowling world.
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I finally got 300. I'd been close.
So let's set the stage. So was you in
Yeah.
a tournament, just
No,
hanging out with friends?
well,
what were you doing?
I convinced Ernie Simmons, who's become a good friend, the owner of Frontier Lanes, that I could never bowl in league regularly because of my schedule. Because we play at night, right? We play on weekends. Sure, that's what we do. Totally cool with it. But that's when leagues bowl. So I said, Ernie, let's do a lunchtime league like on a Wednesday.
Okay.
He's like, okay, we'll see if anybody does it. So you just bowl for yourself. We have about 10 of us. And it takes like an hour and 15 minutes to bowl 3 games. So it's quick. So that's perfect for me. And it's actually, we've had it going for about 2 years. So it's been good. So we had the Legacy Christmas show that we had recorded for the network the night before. And as much as I loved it, we had never done it before. I was a stressed out mess. I mean, it was just, how it is, brand new, Meghan, something you've never done. You think you have it planned, but all these things come up because you've never done it before. Well, that thing's over. So the next day is our final day of the Wednesday league. And I'm thinking, I'm so relaxed. I'm just so glad that's over. It went great. The residents had a blast. Let's just go. Well, I warm up, and it's like, oh, my gosh.
You're feeling it?
Oh, I threw 8 shots, and they were all strikes.
Oh, wow.
Then I
Didn't want to waste those, did you?
Oh, yeah. Then I shoot 300. So
Right.
it's 20 in a row.
Wow.
Then I come back in the second game. I strike the first ball of the second game. I leave a wobbly 7 and go off the sheet for 280. So I had 23 strikes and 24 balls. Now, the third game was a train wreck because I was too excited. But finally got
You've done
it.
enough work that day. So it's,
I was just so relaxed. And then the thing is, when I warmed up, even one of my friends, Dr. Kinsey Madison, who's on our business school faculty, Spear School faculty, has become a good friend. She bowls. She takes time at lunch to bowl with us. She about 4 shots into warm-up says, we need to start like right now because he is on fire. He is throwing it good. We need to start. And so that was a lot of fun.
Did you get a trophy, $1,000? What'd you
get a
for that?
ring.
You get
A
a
ring?
ring.
Yeah,
Okay.
the United States Bowling Congress, if you shoot 300, you get a
Wow.
ring. So it's on order. So I will wear it from time to time. Yeah, it's you get a ring. So I'm excited.
So statistically, what is it? Harder to get a hole-in-one or bowl 300?
It's interesting you say that because we were having that discussion at the golf course. Chris Tidland is
I know Chris.
4-time All-American at Oklahoma State. Known Chris and Amy, his wife. They were our neighbors when we first moved to Stillwater, and he's now the head pro at the country club. We were having that discussion, and I'll use his words instead of mine. He's like, a hole-in-one just happens. It's not like you step up on number 9 at Stillwater Country Club and say, I'm going to make a hole-in-one. The pressure's on. I have to deliver. No, you don't do that. You hit it. You hit a really good shot. Might go in. He said when you're shooting 300, you have to feel it the whole way.
Right.
You get through the 8th, it's like, oh my gosh, I got 4 to go. You get to the 9th frame. You get through the 9th, I got 3 to go. So the pressure builds. He said the hole-in-one just sort of happens. 300, when you're getting to the 8th and the 9th, you're like, wow, can I finish this?
Pressure's got to be building.
Yeah, first ball of the
Yeah.
10th, I felt it. I felt like if I got the strike in the 10th,
Right.
I'm getting it. And I struck first ball of 10th. I said, just stick to your plan. Just go to your process. You know what to do. You know what just go make your shots. And I'll be darned. It was fun. So
Awesome.
I don't know. Maybe I'll get another one. That's been something I've dabbled in and kind of got serious about the last 8 years or so. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been something
Is
totally
there a
new.
senior league you can do?
There is.
Not that you're a senior, but is there a senior?
No, I
league?
am. I've bowled 2 PBA regionals
Okay.
with the young guys and got the absolute dog stuff kicked out of me, which I knew was coming. And I went to the Senior Masters in Vegas, which is a PBA. It's sort of like the U.S. Open in golf.
Okay.
The qualification isn't as stringent, but I'll go back in June. I got murdered. That was my first pro tournament. It's the Masters, and so all the Hall of Famers are there. I bowled with 2 Hall of Famers, and I'm the guy that knows these guys. It's like, oh my gosh. I looked at the pairing sheet. Here's Pete McCordick. who shot 300 on ABC in 1987 and won $100,000.
Here's Brian Goebel. What was the guy with the big hair?
That's Kyle Troop.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
he's a young guy.
Right,
I don't even want to think about messing with him. And then here's Brian Goebel, who's from Kansas City. He won $1 million. He's $1 million guy on the PBA. Those are big-time guys. So I was freaked out from the start. I saw the pairing sheets like, oh, my gosh, I got 2 Hall of Famers, and I've never bowled in a pro tournament. It was a train wreck. But I learned from it.
So what pound is your ball?
15.
What color? What color is it?
I got like 6 of them. Yeah, you got to have. Yeah, you got to.
What's a custom bowling ball cost? I don't even know.
Oh, it depends.
Yeah,
I mean, they can go from $150 to $300.
Okay.
But you got to have one for. I mean,
you got an orange
it's
one?
crazy. I do.
You do? Okay.
I do. It's kind of retired because it doesn't. Sorry, but it doesn't fit in my arsenal anymore.
Okay.
Arsenal. How about that? How's that for a word?
arsenal
What do you
of
think,
bowling
Megan?
balls.
Arsenal of bowling balls. What do you think, Megan?
How many bowling balls did you use in your quest for 300?
In terms of over the years?
No. Like when you bowled your 300.
Oh, I stuck with
just
one.
Stuck with one.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if
the
it was
Brunswick Defender was money, Megan.
What do you
Brunswick
does it have a name?
Defender.
You call it?
Oh,
a
they
name?
all have names.
Yeah,
They all
what
have
do you-
names. They
Is it girl name, boy's name? What is it?
No, manufacturer names.
Okay.
So, this you paid lots of money to watch this, didn't you? Yeah, to see us talk about bowling ball names.
No,
This is
Things we
epic
gotta know.
content, isn't it?
I'm invested in this
Yeah.
bowling content.
So I have the Knockout, I have the Defender, I have the Mindset. They all have the manufacturers come up with these creative names. They actually have some balls. I think it's Storm has balls with scents.
Okay.
So it's like
smells?
They
like
smell,
smells.
yeah.
Which is not for me. I mean, it's like I don't need that.
That's
I just want
interesting.
something that does what it's supposed to do if I throw it right, which is a whole different thing. Oh yeah, it's a crazy deal. It's I would refer to it's like athletic chess. Because I know people will laugh. You get up there and you have to bowl. If you get to a regional, if you make the cut at a regional, on a Sunday you could have to bowl 15 games in a day to win it.
It's a lot.
That's a
worn out.
lot.
It's a
That's a
lot.
lot of repeating the same thing over and over again. Fatigue mentally and physically starts to set in. That's a lot of games. I mean, that's what you have to do. I think it's up to 15 if I remember correctly. It's a lot. And so you have to be able to kind of repeat this maneuver, and then you have to know what ball to throw, what the lane conditions are, how hard to throw it, when to move, when to change. There's a lot to it. And the guys out there, we were talking about this. Most of those guys are pretty smart because you really have to be observant. You have to know what you're doing. You really have to know, and if you don't, you're going to get murdered. You have no chance. So it's it's a lot more to it than people realize. People just bowl for fun, but it's a whole
my arm
different
would
deal.
fall off after 3 or 4 games.
My brain
tired.
falls off after
I'm
about
tired,
6.
so.
Yeah, my brain goes away.
I have an irrational fear of getting my fingers stuck in the ball.
Well, that's all about. We have to get you the right equipment, Megan.
So how should it fit?
Just get nervous.
How should that?
Well, you
how
shouldn't
should
have
your
to
finger-
grip it like
'cause
a
I have
claw.
I have fat fingers, right?
Well, they
What?
can drill
And
you
I
up
have the
for that
same
too,
fear.
Darren.
Right,
Don't worry,
right,
they'll
right.
get you hooked up.
Right.
It's these, right?
Yeah, but you don't have.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of guys don't even put their fingers in now.
What?
Oh yeah.
How did they?
But these two-handed guys, they
Grip
just cup it down
Oh,
here
man.
and they just throw it.
I just grandma
Wow.
style.
So you can
know?
do that. You could learn to throw two-handed sideways. The best bowler in the world does it that way. He's a
What?
two-handed guy.
Hey,
Kinda
I
rocks
think
it back and throws it.
I
Jason
think
Belmonte.
It's really cool whenever a graceful bowler, they come and they got the big leg swing and the ball, it starts over here and it totally goes to the left, or whatever.
Oh,
It's
they know
really
what
cool
they're
to
doing.
watch. It's really fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. I got the bug, like I said, I did it when I was a kid. My dad, part of it is, honestly, it's an emotional tie to my dad who died when I was 12. And when he would get off work from the rock quarry on Saturdays in the winter, he would come home, we'd get a quick sandwich, and we'd go bowl, and then we'd make sure we were back, my brother and I, to watch the pros at 2:30. And that's what we did. And he was really, really good. He was better than I was. He didn't want to go pro. The old timers at home say he should have. He was a really good player, really, really, really good. And so I think a lot of this is sort of you get older and there's sort of these triggers for nostalgia, especially with family. And I think when I got back into it, and I think my quest to try to get to a point where I could bowl some professional was initially definitely a lot about him. It's like, you know what, Dad never did it. I'd like to do it, partly because Dad didn't do it, and kind of get the Hunziker name out there in bowling. So it's out there. It's finishing 281st out of 325
You have like a
at the
dumbbell at
Masters,
home or
but it's
anything?
there. Pardon?
You have a dumbbell at home or anything where you work out the
No.
old arm? I'm assuming you're right-handed.
I'm right-handed.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Good.
can't. There are guys that can actually bowl
One arm
right and
push-ups,
left-handed.
nothing, just...
The biggest thing is just the technique. You got to
Right,
repeat
sure,
it, and
sure.
if one thing gets off, it's a problem. So, It's just
fun to
repeat
watch.
the technique. Anyway,
Either way.
that's a lot about that.
Well, Dave, if you're ever feeling you're having a down day bowling and you're like, man, I only got 250 or 280, and you want to feel good about yourself, bowl with me. I can barely get 100. I make everyone feel good when they bowl
No,
with
you
me.
know what? Hey, that's the thing about that is you never know on a given day what's going to happen. I mean, you can be awful, and then it's like a buddy of mine said when I went to the Masters, like all it takes is one hot week. It happens all the time. This guy just gets out of his mind, and next thing you know, you're in the finals, like,
You're in the zone.
And everybody looks at that guy and says, what is he doing there? And it's like, well, that's bowling. That's what happens.
Well, what I'm hearing is that I can bowl a 300 if I just put
Of
my
course
mind
you
to
can.
it.
You absolutely
I
can.
You'll see
believe
me
in
at
you.
Frontier Lanes
That's
every
right.
night
Well,
this week.
if you can't, Presley can, because Brennan and a lot of the football guys
They
really
like it,
enjoy it.
yeah.
Brennan loves it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He really loves it. I don't want to speak for him. You could ask him, but he loves it. A lot of those, I've seen Rashad Owens out there, Ty Williams.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, Brennan really likes it. He's into it.
I'll have to next time I see him, I'll have to ask him about his bowling
Oh, yeah.
skills. And
He's got his
everything.
own ball, and
Really?
several of those guys do.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh! Wait, I'm learning so much right now.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh.
I loaned one of the guys. They didn't have they had a thing. The day I shot 300, the football team was out there. So I thought I'd just say hi to the guys. So I went back, and one of the guys didn't have his ball. I said, I'll tell you what, that thing you're throwing, that thing won't hook. Let me go back in my locker. I'll get you something that'll hook. So he didn't put his fingers in, so he didn't need to worry about fit. I said, throw this thing. Well, he enjoyed that because that thing would just hook like crazy. And the poor ball he took off the rack, it wouldn't do anything. So he kind of had fun with it. So, yeah, a lot of those guys, they really like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty wild.
I love that. Little fun hobbies,
There you go.
Just learning.
Yeah, someday
people.
the Eddie Sutton Foundation will do a bowling event. We're working on
Okay,
it.
that'd be
And it
cool.
will be really cool, even for
Right.
non-bowlers, once that gets together. We're trying to
Sure, it'll be fun.
figure out how to put that together because it's never been done before. So
Right.
here's another stressful thing for me, another thing we haven't done before, but it'll be really cool when we get it done.
Growing up, the bowling alley back home, you could do birthday parties there.
Yeah.
And if you were the birthday kid, you got a pin that was decorated with
Yes.
your name on it. My mom still had, me
Are
and
you
my brothers
serious?
all had a birthday party there one year. And my mom still has our 3 bowling pins in our garage because we won't let her get rid of them.
Well, no, nor
No,
should
never.
she.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
It was like my 6th birthday. And I'm like, yeah,
Well,
I
yes.
still have that bowling pin. So
That is cool.
Yeah.
Memories.
It's
Memories.
cool. Yeah, well, that's what's cool about all of this, sports-wise, is they create memories, and in many cases, it's not the games, it's who you were with. If you went to Bedlam in 2021, the first thing you remember is you might remember the sack, but probably the first thing you remember is who did you watch it with? Were you at the stadium or at home? How did somebody react? What did you do during the day? Did you get after it during the day, so to speak? What did the day look like? That's what you remember. That's the point of all this. It's like when Jeff Naple, who is our football video coordinator, passed away of cancer in 2015. I remember telling my daughter, and he was a unique character and brutally honest. And it was interesting how everybody really rallied around him because it happened pretty quickly. And I remember telling my oldest daughter, I said, hey, the games bring us together. That's the point of all this.
Sure.
The real point of all this is it's to bring everybody together. It's to create fellowship and friendship. And toughness and all that comes with it, but you don't go through that stuff by yourself. You remember the guys, if you're on the football team, that you got up at 5:30 a.m. and did the workouts with. You remember the guys you went to battle with. That's why team chemistry is so important. Because if you're connected to the people that you're invested with, great things happen. Great memories happen almost regardless. But that's the point of all this. The point is to build connections, fellowship, friendship, help each other out. That's the point. So I'm just a guy. I'm just kind of like a plug into a wall. He's kind of plugging in, and I try to connect it up. That's my deal.
Well, Dave, thank you so much. I could sit here all day and listen to more of your stories. So much wisdom, so much insight.
Well,
I
you're
love
very
it.
kind to say that. This was a lot of fun. Gosh, we even got down the bowling path, which is hard to believe that we got down. But no, it's been so much fun to be here. To think that we would raise our girls here, they would spend their entire childhood here, that it's worked out that way, off the charts good. And the friendship's such a great place. Mary Beth and I have been so blessed to be here. It's you just never know where life's going to take you. We would have never imagined we'd be in to be honest, we would have never imagined we'd be in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Sure.
I wanted a major college play-by-play job. I hoped to get to a power conference. I didn't know. I thought I'd be in the ACC. Spent 8 years at Radford. I thought the big jump would be to the ACC. It made the most sense. I'm sure glad it was here. I'll say that.
You've made it. That's awesome.
Sure glad it was here.
Me too.
Thank you.
Me too.
We're glad it was here too, Dave. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for listening to another episode of the Inside OSU Podcast. He's First Cowboy Darren Shrum. I'm Meghan Robinson. Go Pokes.
Folks.
It's the best day ever. Oklahoma State 27.